We will deal with abortion from a spiritual and karmic perspective, considering the implications that this act has on the spiritual plane and on the destinies of the souls involved. The view presented is that abortion is not just a physical or social event, but also has profound spiritual repercussions, affecting the lives of mothers, aborted spirits, and others involved in the process. This spiritual understanding views abortion not just as a woman's life choice or legal process, but as an act that resonates deeply on the spiritual plane. When a mother decides to abort, she is making a decision that will impact her spiritual trajectory, that of the spirit that would be her child, and even the spiritual entities that accompany this process. The spirit of the aborted fetus, when prevented from incarnating, faces a series of challenges and needs, often being lost between the spiritual and physical planes. However, what stands out most is the karmic bond formed between mother and aborted spirit, a bond that requires rebalancing and healing over time, with possible repetitions of events in future lives until the spiritual lesson is finally learned. Furthermore, the spiritual plane does not see abortion as something isolated, but as part of a larger cycle of spiritual learning, which involves the lessons of life, death, and rebirth and the impacts of each choice made on the physical plane. Thus, abortion is seen as one of the ways to interrupt the evolutionary process of a being, affecting everyone involved in the event. Abortion is an act that commits those involved to the law of karma, which governs spiritual interactions between souls. This law establishes that all actions have consequences, and that what is sown on the physical or spiritual plane will be reaped according to the intention and the effect caused. When a mother chooses to have an abortion, she creates a karmic debt with the spirit of the child who would be reincarnated. This action prevents the spirit from completing the cycle of its evolution, blocking its opportunity for incarnation and spiritual development on the planet. The spirit of the aborted fetus, frustrated in its chance to experience the carnal experience, remains in a kind of spiritual limbo, awaiting a new opportunity to reincarnate. However, this act does not nullify the existence of the spirit, it only prevents it from fulfilling its evolutionary role at that moment. By creating this karmic debt, the mother and the spirit of the fetus begin a process of rebalancing that can last for several incarnations, until both parties are able to free themselves from the negative bonds formed by the abortion. The law of karma is not punitive, but educational. It teaches that all actions have consequences that need to be faced so that souls can evolve and reach a state of balance and harmony. This rebalancing process may require the mother, throughout future incarnations, to face the spiritual consequences of her decision, just as the aborted spirit eventually needs to reincarnate to complete its evolutionary journey. It is important to highlight that the law of karma acts impartially, and there is no direct punishment, but rather a need for learning and evolution for both parties involved in the abortion process. Each soul has the responsibility to deal with the consequences of their actions, and the aborted spirit, like the mother, also has lessons to learn on the spiritual plane. The law of karma, then, acts as a force that demands reparation. Abortion does not eliminate the existence of the spirit or the karmic debt, but only postpones its resolution. The spirit that is unable to incarnate, and the mother who decides to abort, end up bonding through a karmic link that perpetuates itself until the cycle of spiritual evolution is finally completed. This cycle can be repeated in several incarnations, until the relationship of hate, frustration, and suffering between mother and spirit is transformed into a relationship of love and forgiveness. Contrary to what many believe, the decision to have an abortion does not erase the karma of both parties. On the contrary, it can even intensify the karmic ties between the mother and the aborted spirit, creating a deeper and more complex need for reparation. For this karmic debt to be resolved, it will be necessary for the mother to reconcile with the aborted spirit, accepting him again into her life and her womb, so that he can reincarnate and fulfill his spiritual mission. This reconciliation is therefore one of the keys to resolving karma, and this process is inevitable until it is completed. The fact that the aborted spirit remains on hold, often as a disturbing or obsessive spirit, reflects the complexity of this relationship, which needs to be resolved through an internal change of both the mother and the spirit. The rebalancing process is not simple and can take several incarnations, but it is essential for the spiritual learning of both. The central idea of the message is that the only way to resolve the karmic debt generated by abortion is through the transformation of negative feelings, such as hatred and revenge, into positive feelings, such as love and forgiveness. The mother's spirit, by refusing the son's spirit, creates a field of hatred and rejection which prevents spiritual reconciliation between them. To break this cycle, the mother's spirit needs to accept the rejected spirit again, generating a new physical body for it. By giving physical life to the frustrated spirit, the mother also resolves her own karmic debt, allowing the aborted spirit to finally have the chance to reincarnate and fulfill its spiritual journey. This transformation process is not something immediate or easy, but rather a continuous effort of self-improvement. The mother, to free herself from the negative spiritual influence of the aborted spirit, needs to do deep inner work, which involves forgiveness, compassion, and acceptance. She needs to overcome the hatred and rejection that arose at the time of the abortion, and allow love to manifest in her heart. The transformation of hate into love is, therefore, the key to resolving the karma generated by abortion and to allowing the aborted spirit to reincarnate and complete its spiritual evolution. Love is the only power capable of breaking negative karmic bonds and restoring spiritual balance. This love must be genuine, deep, and disinterested, and only then can it bring peace to both the mother and the aborted spirit. This process of spiritual transformation does not occur automatically, but requires a deep awareness and acceptance of the spiritual plan that both parties involved in the abortion process have something to learn and teach each other. This is the only way for the mother to free herself from the spiritual persecution of the aborted spirit. This spirit, who becomes an obsessor or spiritual persecutor, continues to torment the mother until she provides him with a new body, allowing him to reincarnate. This is seen as an opportunity for redemption for the mother, who, by giving birth to the aborted spirit, resolves the accumulated karmic debt and frees herself from her suffering. In doing so, she also offers the spirit the chance to rehabilitate itself and evolve spiritually. The aborted spirit, who often acts as a spiritual obsessor or persecutor, is trying to somehow get the mother's attention and force a resolution to the unresolved karma. This process of spiritual persecution occurs until the mother is able to repair her karma, accepting the aborted spirit back into her life. This situation reflects the continuous cycle of actions and reactions that occurs on a spiritual level, where souls are always trying to correct their mistakes and learn from their experiences. When the mother accepts the spirit and gives it a new opportunity for incarnation, she not only resolves her own karma, but also gives the aborted spirit the chance to redeem itself and continue its process of evolution. Thus, this act of acceptance and forgiveness is not only a solution to karma, but also an opportunity for spiritual growth for both the mother and the aborted spirit. From a spiritual point of view, abortion is considered an obstacle to the evolution of both the mother and the aborted spirit. While for human beings abortion can be justified by a series of factors, such as economic, social, or personal issues, on the spiritual plane, it is seen as a violation of the natural process of incarnation, which aims at the progress and evolution of souls. The spiritual vision states that every birth represents an opportunity for the spirit to reach a new phase of learning and redemption, but abortion prevents this opportunity from being lived. On the spiritual plane, life is seen as an opportunity for the spirit to reach a new stage in its evolution, and abortion is seen as an act that cuts off this opportunity, for both the mother and the spirit. Although society has its own reasons and justifications for abortion, on a spiritual level, abortion is considered an interruption of the natural process of evolution and a way of avoiding necessary learning for both souls involved. The interruption of life, according to the spiritual view, brings karmic consequences that require resolution over time, and can lead to repeated experiences of suffering and loss, until the lesson of love and forgiveness is learned. Therefore, abortion is not seen as a definitive solution to human problems, but as a way to delay and worsen the evolutionary journey of everyone involved. Although abortion may be considered legal or even morally acceptable in some societies, on a spiritual level it is seen as a negative action that brings spiritual and karmic consequences for everyone involved. While the sowing of life, birth, is free, the harvest, the consequences of this action, is mandatory. In other words, acts performed on the physical plane have spiritual repercussions that cannot be avoided, and karmic debts created by abortion require resolution, often in future incarnations. This spiritual vision suggests that, although society may see abortion from different perspectives, from a karmic and spiritual point of view it is not an action that can be easily erased or justified, but a choice that requires facing the spiritual consequences that extend to the future. The karmic repercussions of abortion can be profound and long-lasting, affecting not only the mother and the aborted spirit, but also other family members and even future generations, depending on the complexity of the karma involved. Abortion, therefore, is seen as an interruption of a natural cycle that requires reparation, and the only way to balance this karmic debt is through spiritual transformation, forgiveness, and acceptance. The role of benefactor spirits is always to help people's spiritual transformation, but not directly interfere with the law of karma. The suffering caused by acts such as abortion is a natural consequence of the actions carried out by individuals, and high spirits do not use coercive methods to change this destiny. Instead, they await the time when the souls involved are ready to learn the lessons of love and redemption. Benefactor spirits are not beings that impose punishments, but rather guides that help souls understand the consequences of their actions. The suffering caused by abortion is seen as a learning opportunity which can only be overcome when the soul involved is ready to evolve spiritually. The role of high spirits is not to directly interfere with karma, but to help souls make wiser decisions in their future lives so as to avoid the suffering and pain of abortion and other negative acts. The elevated spirits, unlike the punitive views of other beliefs, offer support and guidance so that the soul involved in the abortion can rehabilitate and evolve spiritually. They are the guides who assist in the recovery and transformation of the spirit, not its judges. Contrary to the human perception that abortion is a form of solving problems, from a spiritual point of view it only postpones and intensifies spiritual suffering, creating new karmic bonds that need to be resolved in the future. The only way for mothers to free themselves from the spiritual burden of abortion is through acceptance and forgiveness, transforming hate into love, and providing a new lease on life for the aborted spirit. This ultimately allows both mother and spirit to evolve spiritually and resolve their karmic debts. Therefore, abortion, contrary to what many may think, is not a way to solve problems or difficulties, but a way to increase karmic debts and spiritual obstacles, which can only be overcome through forgiveness and spiritual transformation. By doing this, the mother also helps the aborted spirit to complete its spiritual evolution, thus resolving the karma that unites them. Ultimately, both the mother and the spirit involved in the abortion must go through a process of profound transformation, where love replaces hate and acceptance replaces rejection. This spiritual healing process is essential for the cycle of pain and suffering to be ended, allowing both spirits to move forward on their evolutionary journey. If you were moved by the deep reflection on abortion and its spiritual implications, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Leave a like to support our mission to spread knowledge and help transform lives with wisdom and love. Join us on this spiritual journey.